The early months of the Dominion War went badly for the Federation-Klingon alliance. Facing an enemy as aggressive as the Klingons and technologically superior to the Federation, it spent over 3 months in a disheartening series of engage, lose, retreat confrontations with the Dominion Cardassian forces. Starfleet established initial fronts along the former Federation-Cardassian border, such as in the Gethar system and the Rumarda sector. But the enemy pushed Starfleet and the Klingons back from those fronts every time, gaining much territory in the process. The Battle of Rumarda alone resulted in the loss of 54 Starfleet and 13,200 Starfleet personnel. But the worst was yet to come. While the 4th Fleet fell back to regroup and lick its wounds, the 7th Fleet moved into position at Tiara, a system 12 light-years inside the Federation border, to halt the Dominion advance. Admiral Boran de Gret organized his 112 ships into a classic defensive bulwark 3 ranks deep, 6 wide, and 3 tall, in the region between the 6th and 7th planets. The enemy attacked with a fleet of 248 ships. The commander of the enemy fleet, the infamous Gul Petar, split his forces into 3 groups, 1 to hit the 7th Fleet head-on, and 2 to flank it. The initial clash destroyed 15 Starfleet ships and damaged dozens more as the Jem'Hadar concentrated their fire on specific high-profile targets such as Excelsior and Steamrunner-class ships. The Admiral's flagship, the USS North Star, survived the first wave, but Petar's own flagship, the Gevrok, obliterated it with multiple torpedo spreads when he came around for a second pass. Thus decapitated, the 7th Fleet fought a losing battle from the beginning. Although it struggled on for valiantly over an hour, it would not overcome the Dominion Cardassian fleet's superior numbers, and it suffered a bitter defeat. Of its 112 ships, 98 were destroyed or too badly damaged to retreat, leaving 14 vessels to flee the carnage when the order to withdraw finally came. In all, 24,000 Starfleet personnel lost their lives at the Battle of Tiara. The Dominion's greatest advances into Federation territory during this period brought it perilously close to Belarus, Six, and Vulcan, 2 of the core worlds of the Federation of Planets. On the Bolian front, a fleet comprised of the 15th and 17th Orders and corresponding number of Jem'Hadar ships came within 2 systems of the Bolian Prime system before intense fighting near Kurmuk 4 ground its offensive to a halt. The 20th and 21st Fleets, reinforced by the Klingons, bottled the enemy up at the Kurmuk system and attempted to push them back to no avail. The Federation's second attempt at a counteroffensive cost it, among other things, the life of Admiral Yusrog Var when the Cardassians destroyed his ship, the USS Baikonur NCC 51900. Determined to earn itself some breathing room, Starfleet planned a third assault. On stardate 51136.8, it commenced Operation Blue Room, better known as the Bolian Operation. The enemy assumed a loose formation ranging between Kurmuk 3 and 4, hoping to catch the larger, more densely organized Starfleet force in a fire sack. Admiral Mitchell Haltwell didn't fall for the trap. Dividing his forces into 4 separate groups, he hit the Dominion Cardassian forces from multiple strike points. After 4 hours of bloody, close-range fighting, the battle remained undecided. Then, both fleets learned that a detachment of Klingon birds of prey had destroyed the supply convoy nearby. Rather than become stranded in hostile territory for weeks without fresh supplies of Ketracel White, the Dominion Cardassian forces were forced to withdraw. As the enemy retreated to a more defensible position several light-years closer to the Cardassian border, Federation forces secured their victory and re-established the Bolian outer defense perimeter. Similarly, Dominion Cardassian forces, this time comprised primarily of Jem'Hadar ships with the 19th and 24th Orders acting as support, advanced all the way to the borders of the Vulcanus system and thus uncomfortably close to Earth itself before the beleaguered 5th Fleet stopped them. The key to stemming the Dominion tide was the Akira wing commanded by Captain Bendok Vithspumaru. which used its superior torpedo firepower to keep the enemy at a distance and destroy or cripple many of its ships. After Starfleet bolstered Vulcan's defenses with the 13th and 31st Fleets, the Federation alliance struck back against the invaders, and 8 weeks of vicious fighting. Starfleet pushed the Dominion Cardassian fleet back from Cree Alep, or known as Vulcanus 6, to a front line 2 light-years away. In the process, Starfleet lost 127 ships and nearly 20,000 personnel, but inflicted equal casualties upon the enemy. Back at Deep Space Nine, events took a desperate turn. After several months of work, Gul Dukat's staff found a way to remove the minefield, but while the Cardassians had struggled with the minefield problem, Captain Sisko was preparing Operation Return, his plan to retake Deep Space Nine. Incorporating elements of the 2nd, 5th, and 9th Fleets, it involved a 4-pronged assault on the station. After convincing Starfleet his plan wouldn't leave Earth vulnerable, and that losing the wormhole meant losing the war, Sisko received permission to proceed. He began assembling his forces, pulling parts of the 2nd Fleet back past the Kotanka system and parts of the 5th Fleet from fighting around the Vulcan border, but with Chancellor Gowron refusing to commit the necessary Klingon forces to the attack and the 9th Fleet too far away to rendezvous with the rest of the force in time, Sisko left Starbase 375 without 2 key components of his plan. With the minefield due for detonation in 8 hours, the two sides joined battle several light-years away from the station. The Dominion Cardassian force of 1,254 ships outnumbered Sisko's fleet almost 2-to-1. Using his attack fighters, Sisko attempted to create a hole by luring hot-headed Cardassians out of formation, but to no avail. The Cardassians held. And pass after pass, the two sides battled each other for over 5 hours. Then, the surprise arrival of the Klingons turned the tide. As Klingon ships smashed into enemy lines, one ship, the USS Defiant, slipped past the enemy perimeter and headed to Deep Space Nine, but it arrived just in time to see the minefield collapse in a tremendous explosion. Sisko desperately appealed to the Prophets. Swayed by his plea, they made the entire incoming Dominion fleet, 2,800 ships, merely vanish. With lack of reinforcements, this doomed the Deep Space Nine defenders. After defeating the Dominion Cardassian fleet, 200 surviving Klingon and Federation vessels retook Deep Space Nine. On the station, Sisko found Gul Dukat, his mind unhinged by the death of his daughter, Tora Ziyal, at the hands of his chief aide, Gul Damar. For the first time, the war's momentum shifted. Operation Return, the first major Federation alliance victory, boosted Starfleet's morale significantly. It pressed the advantage, using new vessels from its shipyards and cadets fresh from Starfleet Academy's accelerated training program to force the enemy to give up ground. Most spectacular of the triumphs was during this period was the victory of the 523rd Tactical Wing at Svendorf. While on a routine patrol of several outlying systems near the front lines, the wing, comprised mainly of cruisers, frigates, and attack fighters, was ambushed by the Jem'Hadar. The wing commander, Jessica Moreau, was killed early in the battle when a torpedo struck the engineering section of her El Dorado-class flagship, the USS Kabola, causing a catastrophic warp core explosion. Her second-in-command, Captain Dykhoth of the USS Norvagod, took command and rallied the wing to a counterattack. After creating an opening in the Jem'Hadar line with a daring feint attack, Captain Dykhoth pressed his attack home and destroyed all of the enemy ships after a short, furious battle. Instead of resting on his laurels, Dykhoth ordered his ships into the next system where the Jem'Hadar had come from to capture their base. Taking the base, Tavek Nor, completely by surprise, they managed to disable its defenses and capture it within an hour. The technical and military intelligence gained provided valuable information to both Starfleet and Klingon attack forces. As if in response to the Federation advances, Legat Damar, leader of the Cardassian government, called for peace talks. The Federation soon discovered the negotiations were a bluff, an attempt by Dominions to gain planets containing a certain type of fungi from which it could create a crucial ingredient of Ketracel white. So that concludes our second part of the Dominion War Katric Ark series. I hope that you guys and gals enjoyed this video. If you did, please throw a like and a subscribe up on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at RealKetwolski, and follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/RealKetwolski. And I'll see all of you guys and gals next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!